I wasn't going to let it be. I was going to work until I couldn't. I was going to work until the outcome that like me getting on the field was like as non-negotiable because
Right.
I knew, listen, I was always going to have to play with pain. I might not move as well, but I was like, my legs aren't chopped off.
I'm really excited. I'm gonna say this is the second time on the show. My man Drew Walsh is gracing us with the presence again. I appreciate you coming on, man.
Maddie, oh, what's up, my man? It's always a pleasure to chop it up with you. And excited when the last podcast didn't work out and there was
Yeah,
technical difficulties. And we're like, hey, I think we got to run this back. I didn't anticipate it taking 6 months,
true.
but hey, such is life.
Yeah, man.
Matty O, thank you for having me on the podcast, my man. It's a
For
pleasure to be
sure,
here.
man. For sure. It feels kind of at home hanging out with you on a Thanksgiving Eve. I mean, different
A
circumstances than we used to, but I feel
little
natural doing
different.
this. I
Couple,
feel natural.
four kids more, probably a
Yeah.
decade. I don't know.
For true. Tolerance a lot lower than it used to be. I could attest to that too. So
Ain't there. Ain't
yeah,
there. Don't
it's
got
not.
it. Not
It's
going
not.
there.
No, no. But Drew,
Terrified of Thanksgiving Eve.
I want to thank you for having on, man. So, last time we were on, we talked a little bit. We spent a lot of time talking about you as an athlete, your journey, and people can go back and listen to that. But I do want to get kind of refresh the new listeners on that. You were someone who played at the Division 1 level, played baseball at the Division 1 level. So, in general, when you talk about that now, I mean, we've been out for almost 15 years. It's been a while.
That that's wild.
It is. It's scary to
15
say.
years.
Yeah. But 15 years later, looking back, what was being a Division 1 player like for you? What do you tell people who ask you about it or your experience? How do you sum it up now?
That's a to sum it up. I was kind of obviously anticipating this podcast, and I was going down memory lane, thinking about LIU Brooklyn. There's just so
Blackbirds.
much to unravel. I think it wasn't just baseball. Like being an athlete was, as you can relate, and any athlete can, is your identity. It's
Hmm.
um, it's who you were from the moment you can remember. I don't ever not remember playing some type of sport. I played basketball. I played soccer growing up. Baseball was just my North Star. And then it might have been for whatever reason, maybe my brother got me into it. He played, and I was always chasing him. But I don't remember ever not being an athlete, not just physically, like playing sports, but I just love to compete. Like
Yeah.
the just getting in the arena, and I have to, it's me versus you or us versus you. I loved being the underdog. I loved stacking the chips against me. Like if I knew there was a couple good players, it's like, hey, you two over there, I'm gonna be on this squad, and
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
want to come, like I want to beat them, like I want to beat the
Yeah.
best. And that was my whole life. My North Star is to play in MLB, just like every other kid. And
Yeah.
I gave it my best shot. I got pretty far,
Yeah.
um, and I didn't get there, but the game gave me so much more than I could ever have anticipated from
Yeah.
relationship, memories, jobs, my wife I got to meet
Yeah.
in college. So it's not just D1 baseball. I guess it's really contextual to like the nature of the conversation and who I'm speaking with. Is it a
Right.
parent with a son or daughter trying to get to the next level? Is it me and the athlete talking and he's sitting with 15 offers, or it's a kid who's struggling to figure out where he wants to go? For me, Division 1 was that's what I want. It was the highest level.
Hmm.
And by no means was I a massive recruit. I was an underdog. I did well in my little area. I didn't get a lot of exposure. I didn't play travel ball until like 13, 14 years
Yeah.
old. I never had a private coach. It was local, man. And we just, we just grinded away with the peers around us. And um, I was super fortunate to have the opportunity for LIU Brooklyn, Craig Noda, to come down and just put some eyeballs on me. And I got to thank my high school coach for that.
Yeah.
And they came down, they saw something in me and gave me an opportunity to go play D1. And for me, that was my dream. I wanted to play at the highest level, and it felt good to get there. But as far as what D1 means, it is a whole different landscape now for
Yeah.
the present day athlete.
Yeah.
They're up against a lot of factors that, I don't know, maybe some of it's perceived as negative, maybe it's positive, but when I'm speaking to an athlete, it's like, hey, like I really want to go D1, and I'm just like, why? You know, like
Mm-hmm.
why do you want to go D1? And most of the time, it's just because it's the highest level. It's cool. It'll get a couple more likes on Instagram.
Right.
Um, their parents have driven that into their mind their whole entire childhood that they got to go D1 or bust.
Right.
But then, like you can relate. We played, 3 seasons of college summer ball. And we met a lot of pro guys, and there's a ton of pro players who never played Division 1, played D2,
Yeah.
played D3 that would have smacked us.
Yeah.
And I really just try and talk to the athletes about like you need to go to a place where if God forbid you got hurt and could never play baseball again, you would enjoy that school. You would
Yeah.
enjoy that environment, the area around you, because in general, baseball is going to end for
Yeah.
everybody, some sooner than later. And you need to understand like who are you going to be after baseball or softball? So I started to just talk about like, yo, what area do you want to go check out? What
Yeah.
are you interested in studying? Do you like are you interested in playing? Like, do you want to go sit the bench for 3 or 4 years? Do you want to
Yeah.
go try and compete day one? So that was a long-winded question, answer to your question, but it's contextual to who I'm
Yeah.
speaking with, and I think that then I kind of navigated towards that.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the right answer though, because we talked about it a little bit before we were recording. Being an athlete, I think is interchangeable with so much. Some of the experiences and what you go through are similar to what somebody else is doing in a totally different industry or market or whatever it may be. But you nailed it. I think, especially with today, being Division 1 athlete is different than what it was for us. Um, but your story is cool because you talk about it just took a chance, and travel ball, as you know, now is a totally different beast than it was when we were younger. It wasn't as let's say necessary, I guess, in a way, like where now you kind of have to be playing travel ball to even where
Right,
some rec programs are struggling just to even get the numbers, which is what I'm seeing now with my kids. But the other side of it is there's so much information out there. I think the best thing you said, and I don't want this to go over everyone's head, is where are you going to be happy if you don't play?
right,
That has to be a part of the decision. Where are
right,
you going to be happy if you don't play? And I think making that decision as a child, as a kid, will be one of the hardest decisions you make at that if you have the opportunity to choose from different schools. But that's something that will set you up for the rest of your life because that's just one decision. But that's going to
right.
be part of how life's going to be. You have to put yourself in the best situations and you have to make tough decisions sometimes. Um, was was LIU that for you? Did you feel like you played obviously all your years, but did you feel like you got more out of it than just baseball and your
Yeah,
beautiful wife, of course?
back to that, statement. I think high school was a tremendous opportunity. I had to go through personal hardships,
Mhm.
but there was so much. I loved high school. I had a great experience. I had great coaches, and then for me, it was like LIU now. Back then, not now. For several different reasons, it's changed a lot,
Yeah,
which is sad. But
yeah,
back then, I don't know if it was a unique situation where you walked in day one, first day on campus, and you matter, right? Like you
yeah,
matter to your head coach, your assistant coach, you matter to the athletic department, you mattered to the athletic training staff, you mattered to the other programs. Like you
yeah.
you were part of a family, and that radius was a square block, guys. Like
Yes,
that
legit.
that campus was legit a square block. It was the
Yes,
smallest campus in America and the biggest city in the world.
yes,
And you stepped on
totally.
that campus and you were part of the Blackbird family where
Yeah,
people knew that's Drew Walsh. He's a freshman. He's got a New York accent.
yeah,
And he's from Staten Island, whatever.
yeah.
At least that was and he's got braces. Um,
Oh, shout out to
and
braces.
17 years old. And I get there and I had no idea what to expect. It was the first time ever really living completely on my own.
Yeah.
And it was important for me to have that family aspect. It's something I grew up in. Staten Island is very rich culture, and
Mm,
everyone takes care of everyone. And to go there and to start fresh in that opportunity in a big city was amazing. I got so much from LIU. It's probably where I did a lot of I started to grow up a little bit,
Yeah. Yeah.
and make some of the best friends in the world. I got to get one step closer to my dream. I got to figure out what I liked and didn't like as a future career. I got the opportunity to meet some of the best coaches I've ever had
Yeah.
in my life. I still talk to my teammates weekly.
It's
I met
awesome.
my wife, um, and I'll never forget the memories I've had as a teammate, your teammate, and many other players, and the success and failures we've had. Like, there's so much there. The
Yeah.
people around it. Um, it means everything to me. I talk
Yeah.
about it all the time. It's a huge part of the foundation.
Yeah. It's you nailed it. I mean, for me, going to different schools, it was cool. Coming into LIU was, I feel really grateful to have the experience I have at LIU through the lenses that I did. You know, when I went to St. John's, that program's ran. Obviously, it was one of the better programs in the country, and it was ran that way. And I loved it. I still have friends from there I communicate with. But I'll be honest, when I transferred to LIU, I was expecting something totally different.
Yeah,
I thought there was no way this program's going to be ran like that. That we weren't winning, and I couldn't have been more wrong. I think what comes from that is that we had a lot of people who cared about us, like you said, and that's true. We
right.
had from our coaches who truly put up with more than they probably ever should have from us,
That's facts.
because honestly, I know for me, and I know you and Craig Noto, Coach Noto are very close, and I see him every once in a while. And we talk. Each always checks in, but my connection with Coach Maines, I mean, I owe a lot to him, and that was he did a lot for me. I was a kid with a hurt shoulder, and everyone knew it, and you know he gave me every opportunity, but he also made sure that off of the field, that was the big thing, man. Like that was the first time that it wasn't just about baseball for me, and I think anyone who's looking to go to college should look for that. It's funny. I was thinking about it before. I can literally remember. You probably don't remember this, but I can literally remember when you first started dating your wife, and it was like BP or something. We were standing in the outfield, and you were just literally telling me how much you really liked her, like in that moment. And if you just like think about that, man, that's crazy that we're just two kids out there talking,
Yeah,
about that. Like, but to be a part of that with you, like it's such a small part of your journey. But that's how close we were, all of us. Like
yeah,
we talked about stuff. You were talking about something that ended up becoming your wife. Like
yeah,
that's conversations that little things like that I remember about LIU. It was family, man. We didn't win all that much early on, but it was definitely family. So I think for the athletes who are thinking about college or going to college, you do yourself the best service by really, really putting yourself in that school visually and making sure that it fits, and works. What are you seeing now from so what are you doing now? You work with athletes a lot. For anyone who doesn't follow you, you're one of my favorite on social media because one, I know what you're doing is good stuff. We majored in similar stuff, but how would you describe today's athlete? Are they more involved in their sport every day? Are they putting more in? You know what I mean? Is it more accessible? Do they have a good understanding of where they're trying to go as next level?
so where I'm at now, my professional career is, it's gone through bobbed and weaved, and I got to explore some different careers. And where I'm at, and we could unpack that later, but where I'm at now is I train infielders on a daily basis. I'm born and raised down in New York, currently live in San Diego, California for the past 5 years, which affords me the opportunity to train outside every day. So I
Yeah.
work with youth athletes from 8 years old to MLB. Now, it just
Yeah.
depends on the season, which to me is incredibly cool. I get to see so many different personalities, athletic traits, adversities, different maturity levels, all in a
Yeah.
week, and it really challenges me to figure out how to communicate. What am I seeing from the present day athlete? To be honest with you, like, there's an incredible amount of information out there,
Yeah.
and just like anything, too much of something could be detrimental. But if you understand how to utilize it, it's a tremendous asset. And I
Yeah.
think that's why we're seeing at the highest level. you're seeing these athletes, and at least the metrics that they're able to put out there are insane. Bat
Yeah.
speed, velocity, running speed, this and that. It's off the charts. It's unheard of.
Yeah.
So from that standpoint, you could see that like our science is developing. There's more information getting out to people. They're gathering that information and reciprocating that to the athlete, and the athlete's retaining.
Right.
So that there's definitely more information out there. And
Yeah.
for some athletes, it's great. They thrive on it. But then there's some who are a little probably too analytical and
Yeah.
over. They take it and they aren't able to process it as seamlessly or smoothly into their sport specific skill. But that's just life, right? It would have
Yeah.
been another thing anyway. Um, Today, like I think it's culture based. I think it's environment based, nature nurture. Like
Right.
I'm out in San Diego and there's kids, I was just out there yesterday with an 8-year-old, absolute blast. He's a stud for an 8-year-old. But the parents express that like they feel like if they don't start travelable at 7, then they have no chance. And with empathy, so much empathy, because I know the
Yeah.
parents want to do everything to help their children out. That pains me to hear
Yeah.
because at 7 years old, I was worrying about like jumping in the mud, jumping in the playground, playing pickup
Yeah.
football, pickup, stick ball. Like I played every sport in the world. I never thought about playing only one sport. Now, baseball was my North Star, and I knew that
Yeah.
that was going to take me the furthest down my athletic career. But to think that a kid, an athlete, has to start at 7, 8, 9 years old, or else they're going to be behind, for me is just a big misconception
Yeah.
because I just don't think at that age to only focus on one slither of a pie chart of athletic attributes, or just physical and mental, the mental components of the game, like just to only pigeonhole an athlete to one sport, I think drastically decreases their ability to build the best athlete they can be, to reach their full athletic potential. Um,
Yeah. I don't
and
disagree
and
with that.
and then now it's like, all right, kid played 3 years, 7, 8, 9, 7, 8, 9 years old, played baseball, softball, but now he hates it. And
Exactly.
so I think that part of it is crazy to me. I
Yeah.
think it's eye opening, and at the same time, it's like I train them too. So it's like, am I a hypocrite? But I think I'm training them the athlete. I'm training them in between the ears. I'm training them, trying to be a role model for them.
Yeah.
Um, I think that part of it is I wish we could, rear back from. And I understand you enjoy playing with your team and you enjoy
Yeah.
your teammates, but like keep the same team, go play flag football together. Keep the same
Yeah.
team, go play basketball together. Right?
Yeah.
Like just be in a different sport. Learn how to go from the best player on your team to the worst or the
Yeah.
middle of the
Adversity.
pack, and learn how to learn a different strategy, a different tracking skill, footwork skill, things like that.
It all helps. The multi-sport athlete, without a doubt, development is there. But you touched on, I mean, being there also with me, like, I train kids younger than I would ever think to train, they're doing it. But the big one for me is it making kids fall out of love with the game, the actual game itself, right? When there's so much that comes along with it. If you have a kid who loves it and can't get enough, then go do it. Then go play, right? Because like you said earlier, it's gonna end someday, So if they want to keep playing, let them play competitively as long as they can. But I think there's a line where we might push it a little too much. And I know for some kids that we train, they're not there because they want to be. And that's hard for me.
No,
That's hard for me to work with. And I do my best, but you touched on it. I think because we played it, we realized that sports is so much bigger than just, hey, do this drill over and over again. We could talk about it, why,
right.
that kind of thing. But what I noticed a change is the high school kids. I think with all the information that's out now and the social media and the likes, from decision making on where to go to school to how much like pitchers throw the ball more than ever before, man. I help
On
one
the
of our
East
mutual
Coast,
friends. Our high school team, his kids are throwing all year long. and then by May, their arms are hurt. So it's different. It's different in that aspect, but I think you nailed it. And then what are you seeing as far as the high school kid and getting chances to play at college? What's your viewpoint on that? Do you think it's harder than ever before? Do you think the kids have to do more than we used to? What do you think from what you're seeing?
Just to unpack the last point, like there's youth outliers who want to play all year round, but I think the burnout is real, and I'm seeing it back to like the environment you're in. Like it's just the environment to play all year round, right? Literally
Yeah,
play travel ball 12 months a year. And 2 points on that. Yes, yeah, I think the kids are starting to get burned out. Like I didn't really start feeling like baseball was a job till college because it's just
I agree.
serious. Like you're there and you're there for a reason, and someone's livelihood's dependent upon it. They didn't make you
Yeah,
feel like that at all, but you had to put up, and you wanted to play at the next level. You wanted to produce. So there's a
yeah,
lot of pressure,
yeah,
in a good way, right? But it was stressful. These
yeah,
kids are starting to feel that at like 10 years old out here. And I'm
yeah,
like, it's not supposed to feel like baseball shouldn't feel like that. It should be
yeah,
fun. You should want to compete. Like you should hate to lose, work to win, but you shouldn't like be petrified to fail.
yeah,
And I think so that part of it scares me that kids are getting burned out by high school.
yeah.
They hit a roadblock. They don't play their sophomore year. They quit.
Yes.
They go to high school, they don't get recruited, they go to JUCO, their career's over. So I
Yeah.
see a lot of that out here. And the second part of that, now you got 7, 8 year old, 8, 9, 10, 11 year old, they're starting to get lessons, playing all year round. Parents spending money out the wazoo
Mm-hmm.
monthly to
Yeah.
get these kids to train. And then over time, the parents really start to feel some type of way about I'm spending so much money monthly
Yeah.
for you to
It's a
go
good
swing
point.
and miss, for you to go make an error, for you to
Yeah.
fail.
Yeah.
Little, unfortunately, I feel like there's a parents who'd never played sports before
Yeah.
and just assume that they should, because they're going to a training session once a week, they should be flawless. They should look like the professional infielder and they shouldn't make mistakes. And if they do, it is a negative thing. And you'll
Yeah.
hear it at a game or a practice. A kid will make a mistake and he looks at his father, and that kills me inside
Yeah.
to know that that kid is at practice where you need to practice harder than you play and fail because you could challenge yourself and push limits, and that he's going to be confined because he's terrified to disappoint that person over
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
So imagine what goes on during a game. I
Yeah.
think
Great
that's
point.
the saddest part for me at the youth level, that parents' self-esteem is tied up into their son or daughter's performance, and that's not fair to the
Yeah.
kid.
That's a great
Like
point.
like you're at work and you got your boss over your right shoulder every day, and you mess up and they yell at you. That that's what you're doing to your kid. Now, how are they
Yeah.
supposed to flourish and grow and deal with adversity if now they disappointed the person who they love the most
Yeah.
because they missed a ground ball?
Yeah.
Um,
It's a
you
great
know, I,
point.
Coach Roy said it best, man. Sports are the obstacle,
Yeah.
and like the sport is the obstacle, and parents remove every single obstacle they can. Oh, you're not playing, let's go to this travel ball. Oh, you're not, let's go to this up. Let me email the coach because you sat 3 innings. It's like
Yeah.
this is all part of life lessons. Like just parents, be a spectator, enjoy that the game is teaching your kids for you.
Yeah.
um so that part I'm passionate about, and I want to reach more parents and try and help them because I think they want to support their kids and guide them throughout this athletic journey, but
Yeah.
I don't think they're expressing it in a positive way.
Yeah. That's a great point. And to touch on that, it's funny you say that. I got this advice. I don't know who told me. Someone told me, but my son, he's playing. He just really started getting into sports. He's 6, so right now we're playing flag football, and I found myself not. I know for sure because I lived the life that I don't need him to do it. I did it myself, so I'm grateful for that. I know I'm aware of that, but I found myself talking about like on the way home after the game and stuff, and I talking about like missing a flag or something, and not in a negative way, just like bringing it up, like, oh, bud, like what happened or something like that. And I remember I read it or someone told me like after a game, the last thing to do is to pepper or interrogate your kids about the game. So like I'm conscious now to where I try to ask questions about something not even related to the game. Like if he wants to talk about it, we could talk about it and bring it up.
Yeah,
But I want to make sure that he understands you're not defined by the game or the performance or anything like that. Like I don't want him to feel that way about the game because if you I used to see this with Coach Mays, if you let kids just be kids, they're over it. They get over it.
Yep.
They forget about the game. The coaches sit more and think about the game
Yes.
than we
Yes.
do. You just forget about it. So I see with my son, if good, bad, or indifferent, he can process it and let it go. Now there's a difference. There's other opportunities where he can learn from things that he does wrong.
Right.
And I think they're learning opportunities.
Behaviorally more so.
Exactly. Be a part of the game, be into the game, things like that. Like that's why we're
Good
at, like little things like
teammate,
that. Exactly.
respectful.
That kind of stuff. But yeah, I think that's a great point, man. Um, your kids only have, and most of us have even played baseball, t-ball, but your kids only have a small window where the game is fun. Don't steal that from them.
Right. Like
Like let
just
them
let them.
have that. You know?
I want to go back I
Yeah.
would love to go back and just remember when there was no pressure. Like
Yeah.
just elongate that as long as possible, and you'll see your best growth. To your point about the car, like again, Coach Roy is a wizard. Coach
Yeah.
Roy, Cortman, softball, just retired, Hall of Fame coach. Just being around that, I used to when he would speak at like the senior banquets. I was a sophomore, and our coaches would be like, "Hey, you should go sneak into the room and just listen to Coach Roy speak.
Yeah.
He is
Yeah.
phenomenal." But he does a lot of parent education and development. But one of the things he says, you get in the car, you don't bring up a word about the game. You say, "That was
Awesome.
really great to watch you out there." And if
Yeah,
they bring it up, you talk about it, but
for
you don't
sure.
bring it up unless they do. They speak about it on their terms. It's it's just like you don't think little Johnny understood that the ball going under his glove was not what he
Yes.
wanted to do. Like, come
Yes.
on.
Seriously,
You
man.
think he meant to swing and miss 4 times in a row? What are you
Yeah.
talking about?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Seriously.
that's my biggest concern with youth sports.
Yeah. That's
Um,
big. That's big. And then I think, and I think that was my point to the high school thing. I think the pressure that's built around because of, and you put it perfectly. I think the parents, I don't know what the word is for it, but they've invested the money, time, and I can get naturally. We're kind of like, all right, like, come on, like you practice this a
yes.
thousand times. So I see that a lot in high school, where, and I have the luxury of coaching in Staten Island, so
So
it's a little,
you
it's
get it's
it's a little
different.
magnified. Yeah,
It's different out
yeah,
there.
it's different out there, but parents are highly involved, and you could see it weigh on a kid without a doubt. You could see
And
it.
all it does is drive it creates a divide between the athlete and the parent. It's like
Yes.
this is a lose-lose.
Yeah.
Like your son or daughter knows you love them. Doing
Yes.
this ain't helping. Like
Yeah.
this
Does
is
not help.
not helping.
No, no, for sure. And then so once you got out of high school and you mentioned college is the first time, and I agree with this, that it felt like a job, right? Do you think that's do you think that's for everybody? Do you think everyone with the talent can play under the stresses of what college brought? Or do you think it takes a special person to be able to handle everything that comes along with that? Because I know for us, every year you have a little bit of turnover, right? Not everyone makes it. Some people transfer or they give it up. What do you think about that? What is it to be a college athlete, as a whole picture?
It's a whole picture,
Yeah.
Mattio. But it's a really cool, looking back, everyone that arrives there was recruited. You're there for a reason. You're probably
Hmm.
pretty good at your sport, especially at the Division I level. You
Yeah.
probably were the best on your team or the best in your community for a while, right? And whether you worked hard to be that or not, you're one of the more talented players. And now you arrive on to whatever campus you're going to, and your name, and then next to it, there's a bunch of zeros. So everything you did leading into that moment, not that it was for nothing. It's who you are. It's how you got there, but it needs to amplify. Like though you need to fill in those blanks, and the only way you fill in those blanks is hard work.
Yeah.
That's putting in the work mentally, physically. So arriving there was unique. I like I mentioned, I was like an underdog. I was a good ball player who was just in a little tiny area and didn't get exposure. Went to a place, was incredibly grateful. They didn't, I have a tremendous relationship with the coach like yourself. Got to coach them after, and they would tell me like, "We didn't think you were gonna be that good," and
Wow. Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, really?"
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
like I did. Like
Yeah.
I always felt like I can compete with those guys. I didn't get in the ring with them all the time. Like
Yeah. Yeah. No.
once I got there, I was like, I mean, you look at JJ and you're just like,
Yeah,
damn,
man. But I'll tell you
like,
what, that swing you had though, bro. I knew from the beginning when I saw that sweet swing, I knew there was something there for sure,
I was
bro.
like, I think I got something here. Like I just okay,
Yeah.
keep working, keep working. But back to the not to get completely where was I going? Now we're
What
getting talking about JJ.
yeah, JJ does. But to what it took to be a complete college athlete. Like,
Oh,
you know,
so I
for
get there and everyone's good, right? So
yeah.
back to the point, like people were more talented than me. I
Hmm.
looked around, I was like, yo, these are some dogs, right?
Yeah.
But fast forward a year, and it's like that guy in practice is insane. Like he's nasty, he's more physical than me, he's more talented than me. But in a game, he can't translate skill. Like
Yeah.
that player
Good
in
point.
practice ain't the player in spring.
Yeah.
And you start to notice that like these players are the best in their community, best in their areas. And I don't know how they were brought up, but like maybe they were told that they're the best, and maybe that made them take their foot off the gas pedal and development wise, and they're not working, or they haven't really faced adversity or someone to kind of compete and challenge them, be right behind them, like, yo, I'm here. I'm taking your
Yeah.
spot. I'm a freshman. I don't care if you're a junior. And a lot of people, when they got punched in the chin like that, didn't respond well to it.
Yeah.
And maybe they were satisfied just getting to college, stepping on campus and saying they play college. But that for me, the goal is always just to play pro ball. So college is
Yeah.
a stepping stone. And I think I got to give so much credit to the coaches who pushed us and held us accountable and demanded from us
Yeah.
um, in a healthy way. Like you're here they wanted to see us maximize our potential, and they challenged us in
Yeah.
a tremendous different ways. And I think the people were like just the support I knew I had back, a borough over across the water in Staten Island, just knowing like they believe in me. Like,
Yeah.
Drew, like I know you're gonna go kill it. Like just those little things like that from your friends and family meant the world. If it filled your heart up,
Yeah.
filled your glass up of motivation. Like, dude, I know I could do this. So support systems like that really helped when you get to a level like that, and
Good
it's
point.
vast. It's
Yeah.
vast.
It is.
And because man, you think about like you went from high school where it's just like baseball, you trained a little bit, and now like this is your job. You go to
Yeah.
class, you train, you go to practice, you go to study hall, you go hit, and then you do
Yeah.
it again over
Yeah.
and over and over and over.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a lot of it's a lot.
Athletes, yeah, I don't think yeah, that's eye opening a lot of times to athletes. I don't think they really understand that you're going to work. I mean, how can you for 6 a.m. sprint club? 6
Bro,
a.m. sprint club.
32 degrees out there, and we're sitting there getting screamed at
Yes.
about running outside and sprint technique. I'm like, I'm not an Olympian, Coach James. Come
Yes.
on.
Seriously, man. And then, then like you said, then class, and then your individuals, and then class, and then practice, and then study hall, and you have to eat somewhere in between there, and it's a job, and I think that's what weeds a lot of people out. I don't think. And then the one thing you said also, which I think is huge, is, and I think it goes really underrated, is every single year there's a new crop of guys who believe that they could take your spot, and that's what they're being recruited to do, and that's what their job is. And there's that challenge every single year. And if you're wired the right way, that's helpful. But if you're not, it can be hard and it
I
hurts.
mean, what is life though? You get out into the real world, and you got 450 applicants. Why are they going to choose you? Just
Great
because
point.
on paper you're all the same? How
Yeah.
are you going to stand out? And that's where the competitive. I'm still probably too competitive. But that's where the being competitive and just wanting not to lose, just because you owe it to yourself, right? And just
Yeah.
to just go compete, get in there and go compete. I think some of the other things, like when I think back to kids separating themselves, is like the kids who, back to your earlier question, who leave and transfers, like, did you come to the school for the right reasons? I remember
Right.
so many of our teammates only came to LIU Brooklyn because it was a D1 program. That's what they
Yeah.
cared about.
Yeah.
Obviously it was New York City, and that was tremendously appealing.
Yeah.
But a lot of kids came to New York City that weren't city people.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
came to a Division One program that didn't have a Division One mindset.
Yeah.
They came to a program never being told they're not working hard enough, and they weren't held accountable during high school. So now you got Coach Maines, Coach Noda being like, this ain't going to cut it. What
Yeah.
got you here won't get you there. And people
Exactly,
don't
man.
like that. And
Yeah.
that was your opportunity to either go or no, or you're out.
Yeah. And you can't fake that stuff. You like think how many people that we had that came to Brooklyn and we were like, you know,
I don't know if this is for
do you
you,
actually,
dog.
yeah, like it has to fit though. You can't fake that. We even had some kids that were decent or would get playing time, but just couldn't do the city thing. They couldn't live the city
Right.
life. And those are all part factors that go into that decision. And that's real. And you can't, I mean, you can not work if you want to, but that gets exposed and no one has time for that. So you just got to be honest with yourself. If you go through high school because based off of talent, because you're more talented, that ain't going to cut it, especially at the Division 1 level. And you know what? At most schools across the country, of course, there's some outlier schools, but I coached Division 3. Man, those kids played, they showed up, they wanted to be there, and they were probably even a little bit more hungry to prove that they're college ball players than we were at D1. We
Yeah.
were had a different mindset. We had a job to do. D3 was a lot of piss and vinegar. It was I didn't get my shot and I didn't get my chance, and some of them should have. And
Yep.
that was the difference. And we were good. And I would have put that team up against anybody. I think we could have
Yeah.
played with them. And I had no idea what to expect when Coach Maines told me he got me a job at Newman University in Pennsylvania. I never heard of the school. I never saw a Division 3 game in my life. I didn't know what to expect. All I knew is what we knew, and I was
Yeah.
pleasantly surprised. But let's talk about it. What's the other side like? Tell me about a time where maybe you were like, man, I don't know. Or did you have a time where you're like, this is tougher than I thought? And I don't even necessarily mean freshman year. You know, playing college, you feel like you're there for a long time because you are working every single day. You're with the same guys and coaches every single day. So it feels like a long year. Was there a point, for the student athletes that are listening now that might be kind of like, in a tough spot, which I feel like we all hit, where you were like, I gotta get myself out of this. I gotta figure this out and get back to me.
Outside of like the peaks and valleys throughout competing throughout a
Yeah.
season where you're just like have a couple bad weeks of hitting and you're just, anyone who's played baseball, softball, who's having in a slump, you just it's not the funnest place to be.
Yeah.
Outside of that, I would say going into my junior year, I created an opportunity where I got on some radars to play after my sophomore year to play in
Right.
professional baseball. Like it was a by
Yeah.
no means a highly touted prospect, but just some eyeballs like that kid
Yeah. Yeah.
Walsh. If he gets physical, gets a little faster, like that dude has a chance. And like
Yeah.
this is the boy who spent every single winter throwing a ball at the YMCA, working on his hand path work, threw the ball on my freaking front stoop in Staten Island, and just
Yeah.
envisioned being Derek Jeter and pinstripes. That was so now to
Yeah.
hear that, I'm like, all systems go. So I took that, I went, I trained, I did this thing called CrossFit and trained as hard as I freaking could and blew my back out.
Mm.
I got that summer, I trained, I played college summer ball, and I looked like a Spartan. I was
Yeah.
super physical. I gained weight. I was
Yeah.
super lean, strong. I get to fall. Everyone's like, damn, dog. Like, yo, what were
Yeah.
you eating this summer? I'm like, just put in the work, man. I don't think I didn't have a piece of sugar that summer. I was living with Tyler Jones. It was like purgatory.
The
Um,
perfect person to do it with.
yeah, yeah. Thanks, Tyler. But anyway, I wound up, it was funny. We got punished for a freshman not doing his job the day before in class, and we got you guys ran us for freaking hours, man. You, Coach Perillo, we were
Oh
running for like
man.
3 hours, and like everyone's like, "Oh yeah, you're in great shape now. Come on, Walsh." And I'm like, I got to try and beat everybody. And next,
Yeah.
like that, after I run in, my back was super tight. I'm like, "Yo, what's up?" And the next practice, during ground balls, I go into the 5-6 hole. I feel the backhand, and I feel I thought someone shot me in my lower back. I almost fell to a knee.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
I was like, yo, That's not normal. And
Yeah.
long story short, man, I wound up herniating two of my discs, fractured my vertebrae. And this is coming off like a year where I was like, I think it was my best year yet at college. I was like, dude, just you're doing everything you can, doing everything right. Get stronger, just get stronger. You can control it.
Right. Yeah.
Do it. And I did everything in my best. I was naive. I didn't know what was good form, bad form, what was good, what was not. And that got me into trouble.
Yeah.
And that was probably like the biggest adversity I had to deal with. That like I probably would never move the same. And I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know if like I would just have this pain in my back, if I would just be as fast, as explosive, if I was able to change direction as well as I used to. So now I'm like this unknown, and like it was tough to get back. Every time I'd rehab my butt off,
Yeah.
I go practice, and I'd take 2 steps back, and I'm like, dude, am I ever? And I'd get back, I'd feel healthy, I'm lifting, I'm doing great, feel strong. Boom, I feel it again. And I'm like, is this what the rest of my career is going to be? Like, is this it? Like, I'm just going to be old man.
Yeah.
Um, and that was probably my hardest part of my career, like the most challenging mental time of my athletic career, to be like, all right, dude, like there's a chance, like you ain't, you ain't going to play much longer, and you got to figure
Yeah.
out like how you're going to maximize these next 2 years and be the best contribution to LIU Brooklyn,
Yeah.
and what you're going to do next. So that was the most
That's
challenging time for me.
yeah. That's deep. That's deep. You know, it's kind of cool to hear that because if you would ask me to tell that story, I always remember you like the one thing that no one could ever say is that you didn't put the work in to get back. I mean, I can remember you with the heating pads on. I can remember you taking the steps, but it's cool to hear it from your point of view because I know for me with my injury, one of the big things that I felt is the thoughts that go on in your own head. So for me, watching you, I knew you were hurt and I knew you were doing it to heat. And then I would just hope, oh, I hope he could play. And we needed you. That was the other thing, right? There's pressure that like teammates and coaches are starting to be like, all right, because that's not something that like you could visually see. Only
Hmm.
you are feeling that, you know,
Right.
and that was me with my shoulder. Like you couldn't, it was just I felt it. And you want to be out there, you want to be at your best, but if it just doesn't let you. So for me, I know personally it was my thoughts. I was letting people down, teammates down. I just knew that. The mental side of it, did you have someone that you could rely on when you were trying to figure that out? Was there or is that something that you had to go through and figure out yourself mentally?
I'd say early on it's I think about like Erica and Courtney and Dan,
Yeah.
like the athletic trainers were tremendously supportive and gave me optimism, gave me hope, pushed me, told me, hey, like, hey, oh, you hurt your back. Like, this is what it is. Like, let's go. This, the obstacle is the way. Like, this is the problem. We're going right into it. We're gonna rehab the heck out of you, and we're gonna go play. And then if something happens, we're gonna rehab. We're gonna adjust, and we're gonna get you on the field.
Yeah.
So that was always inspiring. It's nice to go in there and like it's a little different environment.
Yeah.
They're giving you some positive notions. They're challenging you. You feel like you're making progress. They're tracking it, measuring it. So that part of it helped me out a lot. And then I think that was the time where I started to like I actually started to meet this girl Lauren on the softball team who
Yeah.
transferred in from New Mexico State. That the softball coaches were telling our coach that like, dude, everyone's gonna go crazy for it. And I just met her.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, that's when we started spending more time together, developing a relationship. And she tore ACL twice, and she came back and was an All American. So to have her now in my arena to kind of go
Yeah.
through that process of like trying to get back to whatever healthy was huge as well.
Yeah.
And then my teammates, right? Like, you get hurt, and because we were at a program small enough and where they did the right way, like they didn't forget about you. Like,
Right.
you get that feeling sometimes you go out there and you're in like your sweatpants and stuff, and like their focus is to get everyone else
Yeah.
better because that's what they got to do. And that's not you at this right moment. They care about, that don't mean they don't care about you. It's just their
Yeah.
focus is on the team and who's in front of them. And, that can get into your psyche a little bit, like, damn, like,
For sure.
is coach not talking to me as much anymore?
Yeah,
Teammates,
for
I'm
sure.
not the same D-Dub. Like, yo,
Yeah.
I'll be back. So stuff like that
That's
weighs
real,
in.
man.
Yeah.
That's real.
So
That's what but that's when I tell people, like, you're gonna have to grow up. You're gonna have to, you could, like, so what are you, 20 years old, 19 years old at that time? And right now you're looking at life very differently. I was going one
yeah,
way, and all of a sudden, and you're a kid still, right? And that you have to make that decision and do that. That's a lot, and that's why support is huge. But that's the impressive part. A lot of the college athletes that we work with come to us where they're at that point where, hey, I always had a dream of playing pro, and I'm a junior or senior, and injury or just not happening. Um, so was that a moment for you, or did that come later?
it wasn't. I wasn't gonna let it be. I was gonna work until I couldn't. I was going to work until the outcome that, like, me getting on the field was like is non-negotiable, because
Right.
I knew, listen, I was always gonna have to play with pain. I might not move as well, but I was like, my legs aren't chopped off. I'm able to, like, I'm gonna get back on the field. Timeline, discipline to training and rehab, and at what like at what form I'll be in comparison to previously remains to be unseen. But, like, I'm getting on the field,
Right.
So players who are dealing with adversity, like, I think we have to take a real hard look in the mirror and just make sure that we're not playing victim for too long, right?
Hmm.
You get hurt, grieve, but then you have to look forward. Like, you have to look at solutions. You have to look at what it is you need to do to move you closer to doing the thing that you love. A lot of players, athletes will sit there and kind of woe is me, victim, and just sit there and be like, well, this is how it ends. And I just think, like, those are the people who are gonna, quit jobs, make excuses,
Yeah.
always woe is me. It's not my fault. And I just think they're gonna learn the hard way that no one cares. No one
Yeah.
cares about your opinion, and how you feel about, like, not playing and this and that. Like, they do, but they don't. Like, it's ultimately up to you. You're in a driver's seat. So I always felt like that. Like, if you're going through a massive surgery, like, just worry about, like, get through that surgery, get through that procedure first. That's it. That's all you can do.
Right.
Get through it, and then that's a checkpoint. And then look forward from there. What's my next checkpoint? Is it 10 degrees flexion? Is it 10 degrees internal rotate? Like, just get to that checkpoint.
Yeah.
Rely on the people around you. Ask questions, and just put in. Again, you get back to the discipline of, like, putting in the work to get where you want to go. There's just no there's no cool formula. There's no
Yeah.
magic potion. It's just it's showing up. And that's why I don't really talk about goals anymore.
Hmm.
I don't think a negative way about them. I think it's great to have aspirations and, a really cool idea, ideation of, like, what you want to do. But, like, with athletes, when I talk to athletes about setting standards, like, what are you doing Monday to get better? Cool, great, got it,
Yeah.
check. What are you doing Tuesday to get better? Cool. It's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Repeat over a year. What are you
Yeah.
doing every day to get better? Because that's the standard that you've set, which is built within your DNA to get you where you want to go. That's your vehicle daily. Because we all achieved our goals. I'm going to save up enough money to buy this pair of shoes. You get the shoes, your life hasn't changed. You have
Yeah.
the shoes, it now becomes numb, and you forget how much you ever wanted them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So goals are lofty. They come in, they go, and then it's, they come and it's like, what's next? But if you
Right.
have standards, it's like, well, that's my plan. Like, that's tomorrow's, what's what I do. And
Yeah.
so part of that is where I think athletes could have more success by just setting higher standards and hold yourself accountable to what are you doing today to get better. And that's all that's all you have in front of you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Past is gone, future's not real. So stuff like that.
Yeah, that's deep, man. That's awesome. And to say that, I mean, I think it's safe to say you learned that through athletics, right? Like applying that process of just show up. I, I relate that a lot to the rehab and the recovery. Like show up. The coach used to get on us about this. If you're supposed to
This
be getting treatment, go in and get treatment. Like that's what you're supposed to do. Go
that's
do
your
it.
practice.
That's your practice. Because believe it or not, some guys would even, would skimp out on that and they would never get back on the field or anything like that. So is that, are you still, do you consider that you still think like an athlete? Obviously, our playing days are over, but do you consider yourself from what you learned as an athlete? Because I know for me, I've had to really accept. I tried to, when I first stopped playing and I got into business, I tried to almost reinvent myself. And then I found as I got a little bit older, I just rely on what I learned as an athlete, and I it's kind of weird for me. Like I still identify as an athlete. It's been a long time, but I feel like,
100%.
yeah, like I'm
I
still an
don't care if
athlete,
it's cornhole. I don't
Yeah,
care if it's
yeah,
spike ball.
exactly.
I don't care
I'm
if it's
still an
hand
athlete.
jam. Coming
Yes.
at you,
We're gonna
dog.
play. We're gonna compete.
Yeah.
So
Lil Russell's not winning until he's maybe 28. I don't care.
that's life, man. So I apply. So I'm just that's what I am, and that's how I approach my business. Do you do that? Do you find yourself still having the same processes that you did back then?
I think it's a journey, right? So the journey of baseball, that chapter of baseball for me ended, right? And then
Mhm.
I'm like,
Now
dot,
what?
dot, dot.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So what's up, world? And I was super blessed that Coach Maines and Coach Noto allowed me to come back on and coach. Like I'm sitting there like, damn, like holy smokes. I've worked
Yes.
17 years to get to this point, and now like that arena at that your mindset is like that's over.
Yeah.
That's gone. Like what the
It's
hell
wild, man.
am I supposed to do on this earth now? And that 2 years of coaching at school like gave me such an opportunity to kind of like take a step back and look at things from a 30,000 view and see all
Right.
the trees in the forest versus one in front of my face. And I got to see the nitty gritty of college coaching. I got to
Yeah.
see, I got out into the practicum side of my master's where I went out and worked with Sir Chris Kievit and
Yeah.
Coach Igda, and I got to see like in the cut, like not just a textbook,
Yeah.
strength and conditioning, this, that, and the other. No, I was in it coaching athletes. I got to see like, is this something I can do for the rest of my life? Um, and it was a massive 2 years for me
Yeah.
to really sit back and be like, yo, I don't know if I want a college coach,
Yeah.
but I'm fighting myself because I'm like, this is who I am. Like I'm Drew Walsh, and then it's like baseball. That's it. That's all I know.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I can't not do that because who would Drew Walsh be? Baseball. Would I?
Yeah.
Who's Drew Walsh?
It's your identity.
Right?
Yeah.
And you forget that like, nah, Drew Walsh is a good kid. Like Drew Walsh worked hard. Drew Walsh was a good teammate. He's a good boyfriend. He does this. You forget like kind.
Yeah.
Tried to lighten up people's days. He tried to be open minded. Like you're all these things before you have a baseball player.
Absolutely, man.
So I get done with the 2 years. I realized I don't want to coach baseball. And I was like, I really like the strength and conditioning stuff. The human body is incredibly interesting to me. I love this human interaction, that coaching component. I just think there's so many like opportunities in this field. I want to go explore it. And luckily continue to coach for a
Yeah.
while. But to and got the opportunity. I got the opportunity to go teach. I was an adjunct professor at LIU.
That's
I was like, what? I was like, walked into the classroom and like I was like, did we used to have class together? Like,
I did not know that, by the way.
yeah,
That's
I
I did
taught for
not know
two
that.
years, man,
Oh
and I
man.
so I would wake up at 4:45 a.m. I go train my clients. I'd sprint back home. I'd study the heck out of my presentation. I'd take a 30-minute nap. I'd get up. I'd run to LIU. I'd teach. I'd run to Trader Joe's. I'd get our groceries for the week, and I'd sprint back to the city to train my clients. And then I would go to Brooklyn to train high school.
Wow. The
So
hustle.
that leads me into like nothing changed, man. Like as
Yeah.
soon as I got done, I'm like, I got a lot more energy to give into this new career I have that like I'm like, oh my God, like I'm nobody. I'm
Yeah.
nobody as a strength coach. I'm nobody as a coach. I'm nothing. Like I gotta go put in the work like I
Yeah.
always have to see where this thing goes and push the needle forward. So as soon as I got
So,
done, I gave
yeah.
everything I got to go. I was commuting an hour and a half into White Plains, coming back in, training in the clients in the morning, and then running there, and then coming back in, teaching at the university, coaching baseball on weekends. I was doing it all because I didn't know what I wanted to do. I
Yeah.
was like, yo, what's my new identity? What brings me most joy? What's
Yeah.
giving me the best reach over these with these kids? Like, how can I? What's the best vehicle for Drew Walsh right now? And you
Yeah.
don't know, like you don't know what it is until you're in it and do it and try new things. That's why you're young. You could take
Yeah.
chances and go grind for 12 hours a day and come home and hang out with your girlfriend or for a couple hours and then wake up and do it again, and make not so great money
Yeah.
or crush it. Who knows?
Yeah.
So it's never ended for me. My
I
approach
love
is
that.
different. My approach is different. Like, I'm not waking up at 4:45. I'm not
Yeah.
training for 12 hours a day, because I put myself in a position to maximize when I do work and do the things I love and still be we all need to make money at
Yeah.
some point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Money makes life a little easier. It probably
Yeah.
just really just magnifies who you are, good and
Yeah.
or bad.
That's what they
But
say.
I just want to be a six-figure dad. So like,
Yeah.
if I could set my business up to where I could still be present in my Maggie and Russ's life and be a six-figure husband, like that's where we're at now. And I'm
Yeah.
trying to figure it out. I don't got it
Yeah.
all figured out. I'm working at it day by day, and my rhythm of life for me has changed. I have two new kids, but like, what? So what?
Yeah.
Like, who
No.
cares? No one
Yeah.
cares. I got to get the work done.
Yeah. I appreciate that insight a ton, because I think, and that's what most of my business is created off of, is that initial moment, that last game is real. And only a handful of us get to experience that. There's only so many athletes that get to play at the level and play college and get to experience that moment where for 17, 18 years, 20 years, whatever it is, it's all done. It's over. At last game it ends. And not all athletes, we played with some guys who knew what they wanted to do. I think of Tucci, who was in pharmacy school, like, where you're
Yeah.
going after that. But I was a sports science major. I didn't know where I was going after that,
Yeah.
So that moment where that hits, because so much comes with being a college player. You have, like we've talked about, you have your coaches, your trainers, your support staff. But the thing about that is they all stay at the school. You move on. You're
They
now
created your daily routine, and now
exactly.
you're like, wait, I got to make my schedule. I have to do all
Exactly.
this. I have to create this. It's like,
Yeah, that's
oh,
real, man. That's real, because I didn't know in the moment. Like, I know where I need to be and when I need to be there, and we just know not to be late. Like I know that. But it's so funny to hear your story, because mine was so similar. And I preached to college athletes, be okay with figuring it out for a couple of years, because
yeah.
the reality is you put everything into your craft in college. We didn't have necessarily the same opportunities for internships and to go out and get a job, because we played in the summer. And
Mm-hmm.
like you, Coach Maines thankfully gave me that year where I got to
Yes.
coach. I was on there. I got to watch, see what I wanted to do, and it was a blast. It was my favorite year. You were on that team. We had fun. We did
Yeah.
good,
We did well.
and then that came to an end. And I'll never forget. Coach Maines said, "Look, like I said earlier, he's like, you got a job at Newman University." I said, "Well, where the hell is Newman University?" He said it's right outside Philadelphia. And the pay was a D3 job. The pay was, I forget, it was, I was like, "Coach, how am I gonna live off of that?" He goes, "Well, what you're gonna do is you're gonna move in with your girlfriend's family, because they live in Westchester and the school is 25 minutes away from that." Yeah, well, the problem with that is that my girlfriend was going to school at Hofstra University. So,
In Long
so
Island.
yeah, in Long Island. So long story short, I ended up coaching at a D3, living with my then girlfriend, who's now my wife, thank God, her parents, just me and her two parents in the house while I'm coaching D3
I
baseball.
didn't know that.
Yeah, man.
Damn.
God bless
That
them.
was
Lucky
either
enough,
like
they
the deal set or a breakup.
100%, 100%, and that's how it all started. That's why I started. And God bless, they're great people that they let me live with them, because I don't even know if I would do
Yes.
that. Like my daughter's boyfriend
Yes.
wants
It's like a
no.
stranger.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just in the basement down there eating, coming to the dinner table, just grab it was an experience. But
Uh,
I spent 8 years coaching, and that life is tough. That life is different. Some people
that's
love
a
it,
whole
and
nother
it's
podcast,
yeah,
man.
that's a whole nother life. But It's my point of saying that is I think every student athlete, when it comes to an end, it's okay to feel like you have to figure it out because you do. And
It's okay to feel lost. You know,
yeah,
it's just
yeah, it's okay. And just stick to like what I heard with your beginning, just stick to your principles. Like if I have to do this, then I have to do it. And that's one thing that I never want an athlete to bury. You have the ability to outwork anybody. We're
hmm
bred to think that. So
hmm
that directly, in my opinion, applies to my world in business, and I think it could apply anywhere. So embrace that, hit the ground and go. And same with you. Like I started with training. That's what I knew. I did training. Those 5 a.m. mornings, the cold mornings, like all that stuff. It's tough, and then you continue to grow and progress. So that leads me, you for sure, and I tell you this all the time. I love what you do. I love the message that you're sending the kids. And it's not because we're friends, but it's because I always think about would I send my son to whoever I'm watching, would I send my son there? And you're someone without doubt that I would be comfortable because of the whole umbrella that you give. But you do
I
a good job
appreciate you.
at showing that. Your social media presence, you as a business person, in my opinion, I love it. Like you're someone that I look up to. You're someone that I follow, honestly, in that because I know what the work that goes into it, and I know how hard it is. Um, when did you feel like, hey, this business thing, I think I can give this a real run because to become a 6-figure dad that takes work, right? When did you feel like this is where I need to be? I'm not in an office. I'm not a coach. I need to be here. Was that after a couple years, or was that always the plan?
Yeah, it took a while, man. I think, if I'm talking to athletes who are a few years out, like I remember those were some of the harder times. I was like spent a couple years grinding and working and working and working and working. And like you feel like you should be where you were at the end of your athletic career. Like you should already
Yeah,
be at the pinnacle. And it's like, well, if you think about it on paper, you spent 17 years working towards this goal, and you're now 3 years into
true.
this goal. Like, I'm not good at math, but you
True.
need
That's a
to
good
put in
point,
more
though.
work. So, like, chill, enjoy this
Good
process,
point.
enjoy this journey, enjoy, starting out being broke, enjoy
Yeah,
making a few bucks, enjoy not having responsibilities as a mid 20s. Like, go
yeah,
travel, go experience the world, new cultures, say yes to more things, read more books to open up
yeah.
your mind and open up your perspective on your reality. So, all of the I put in a lot of work, man.
Hmm.
I've gone through adversity throughout my life. I lost my father when I was 3 years old. I lost my mother when I was 17 years old. I think that's really challenged me or put me in a spot where I see life differently. Like I don't trying to get caught up in all the nonsense and the minuscule things because I've seen the ruthlessness of life and what could happen in the blink of an eye. And there's no sorry,
Yeah,
the ether, the earth is just like, oh, I like it continues to move on, life goes
yeah,
on. And it's like, how do you continue to stay positive and strong and move forward and continue to develop as a person first, as a husband, as a brother or sister, but then as an entrepreneur, like how do you do all that? So I just I got to the point where I was working hard, I was doing great, I was blessed, I was getting some opportunities. I have to give a lot of credit to the people who are around me. The coaches, Coach Nodal, Coach Maines, Coach Formica, other people that were put in my life for some reason that gave me opportunities. And I also, I take credit for doing a good job at those. I put in the
yeah,
work. I worked really hard, and it seemed like everything I was starting was growing. All right, so
yeah,
I'm like, you go into it the unknown, you're terrified, and it's really just your ego trying to put up these boundaries, and you say yes and you go do this opportunity, and you're like, that wasn't that bad,
yeah,
and
yeah,
you're like, that
yeah,
was okay, like I'm alive, I did
yeah,
great, let's the next opportunity, let's say yes. And
yeah,
that snowball effect continues to increase and gain momentum. And then I got to the point where I was, personal training. I was working at a box gym. I was the number one gym, trainer there with the most clients every month, blah, blah, blah.
yeah,
And then I had the opportunity. I was like, something ain't right here. Something ain't like something's flat. Like I'm waking up and it's just flat. Like I need something new. I need to challenge myself a little more. I'm getting a little too comfortable, right?
hmm,
I'm cool where I'm at right now. That's when I left. I started Fast Development. I used the opportunity of my personal training clients to have a foundation of the business to have revenue right away. Right, that
yeah,
allowed me to start this Fast Development thing. but have like money coming in to pay my rent in Brooklyn and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So that was the foundation. I was like, yo, there's no boundaries here anymore. Like
Yeah.
I don't have these four walls anymore. It's like whatever I want. Like I could go train this high school in Bishop
Yeah.
Loughlin. I can go train these baseball kids. I can go
Yeah.
train with baseball Under Armour factory. I could have Dick's Sporting Goods fly me out to do this video
Yeah.
thing. I could go train infield. I was like, oh, this is cool. And then you start to listen to yourself, like, what am I excited to go? Like, what am I doing that I would do for free? Like
Yeah.
an hour goes by, like if I didn't get paid, like would I care? And that led me to I coach infielders on a daily basis. I'm obsessed with it. I think about
Yeah.
infield play on the regular, nonstop. And I didn't feel that way about strength and conditioning. I wanted to be
Right.
really good, but like I didn't want to be the best in the world. All I could think about is infield play. And once I eliminated that thing that felt flat for me and it felt a little bit like an anchor in my
Right.
professional career, it was like a hot air balloon. It
That's
allowed me
huge.
to really just go, and like I could really focus on this infield thing, create a glove company, have a dig it podcast, work at this academy, hire somebody. Like that's when it all started to go. And then like I got so much more work to do. Like
Yeah.
it's just what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. That's like that feeling is, I feel like, the moment, right, where you can just really put your head down and grind when you find something that you love. But the only reason that you got there is because you allowed yourself to have that opportunity. And I feel like some people sometimes get lost on not taking, we can call it a chance. I'm sure you were confident in yourself, but to be the number one trainer somewhere and then just leave, or to start
To
something
move
up and then
across
just leave.
country and start a new business with no
Exactly.
clients.
Exactly.
Um,
That's
I
hard,
think it.
dude. That's big.
I don't. Yeah, it was honestly like COVID was crazy, and it is what it is. We didn't have much control over it, but like that gave me an opportunity 2 years under my belt to get to meet people in San Diego, to get to learn how this place operates as a business, to get to
True.
learn who I need to be around, to reach out to hundreds of schools. Like, hey, can I train you for free? Hey, can I do this clinic for free? Can I just get in the door? Because I know once I
Yeah.
get in the door, I got it. I
Yeah.
gotcha. Like I'm gonna make my presence felt and let who's ever in front of me know that I could bring value to them. So I think it's just like I think young kids they want it all now, and it's just it ain't like that. And I wouldn't say it's any detriment to them. Like some people be like, whatever generation it is lazy. And
Yeah.
I don't know if they are. I just think they got more options,
Yeah.
than we
For
had. Like
sure.
they got more options to make more money on social media in 2 days. And maybe
Yeah.
we did as a Division I coach for a year. So
Yeah.
they have more options. So I just think the landscape's different. I think social media is incredibly powerful. I think it
Yes.
is just like money. It exacerbates who you are. If you're vindictive and you're ruthless and you're feisty and you're negative, you're going to be that on social media, and it's going to give it back to you. It's like a mirror. If you're positive and you want to grow your business and you're trying to help people out, you're doing it the right way, and you want to bring value to who's in front of you, it's also going to mirror that too. So
Yeah.
social media is what it is. Say what you want. It's probably the most powerful vehicle we have to build a business, and
Yeah. I
that
agree.
I think it's super inspiring to see people build a complete um lifestyle on
Yeah.
social media to support their family because of what they were able to accomplish on social media. I see it. I know it. I'm
Yeah.
working on it
I-
every day, and it's real.
you are, I mean, like I told you before, you're someone that I look up to on the social media game. I think you have a really good grasp on it. And I recommend everyone go check out especially Instagram. That's where I see a lot of your stuff with fast development. It's good stuff, but there's, similar to like what we said before, you can't really fake that. And I think the passion shows through your social media. I mean, the stuff that you put on there is creative. It's well done. You get a look inside of your business, but then you also give a look inside of what you're doing behind your business. Like I like when you have handwritten stuff, and it's just like your thoughts on a piece of
That's
paper.
my brain. Yeah, I've
Yeah,
always been like a little bit more like I wouldn't say I'm that creative. It's just like I been introverted. I could be extroverted, but I enjoy both of those parts of myself.
yeah,
And I think at least in the infield world, I could be creative because of
yeah,
my background in tennis and my background in playing my whole life and coaching at a high level. And also just being open-minded and knowing I don't know everything, and being willing to learn more, continuously
Yeah.
learning and challenge myself to figure out a better way, and know that, just because it was done this way doesn't mean it always has to be done that way. Like, it's okay to
Yeah.
be a different voice.
Yeah, that's the fun stuff too, right? Like I think I say this, I feel like to everybody I talk to, but one of the greatest things that I took from being a personal trainer and I was in people's homes was when I started asking questions. When in the
Oh,
beginning, you want to carry yourself like you know everything and you're going to come do this workout. But when I started asking questions about everything, dude, not just about working out and not just like about everything, learning how to listen and learning how to like care about what the other person's actually talking about changed my life. The connections I made with people, I probably wouldn't have made when my younger days. I just wouldn't have had the true authentic care to actually listen. That's something that I push big in my kids, but I practice every day. It's just that ability to learn, man. That's what makes the business fun, because then you unlock something like a new idea, then you're eager to try and implement it.
crazy.
Like it keeps you fresh, keeps you going. But the other thing, which I've never done, which I don't want to go past, is tell me about the gloves, man. You created something from nothing, and it's your vision. And tell me a little bit about the dig it. I got to hear it, because I know when my son earns his first real
Bet.
glove, that's it, man.
Yes.
He's got to earn it though. You can't be,
Better.
you got to be out there
Let's
making
go,
plays.
son.
Tell me about that, creating the product, and tell me a little bit about where it's at now.
Yeah. So I'd say like 4 years ago, it kind of all started to happen. Like, I started training a lot more infielders, and just naturally, like, I traded, older, but like, you start training youth infielders because they need the most help. And I'm sitting there working with these kids, and they're freaking talented as heck for their age, and they do a great job. And there's a big disconnect, as I'm trying to coach these infielders, something's going wrong. Like, the ball, they're not taking care of the ball. They have pocket awareness ability, but it's not consistent. It's not repeatable. I'm like, what's going on? The glove looks like it's falling off the hand. It looks loud, sloppy.
Yeah,
Their throw looks super chaotic, and like they're fighting themselves. It's uncontrolled. And this is at the age group where they're 8, 11 years old, where they need these fundamentals. They're just trying to learn the fundamentals. And I felt like there was this thing really holding them back. And one day I tell this kid he's a stud, I'm like, yo, I had enough. Like, go grab that 9.5 trainer. He
yeah,
goes, he puts on a 9.5 trainer, which for everybody is a really small training glove. It's a glove that's very short. And all of a sudden, I'm watching this same exact kid from a minute ago put on this glove, and now his hands just became as athletic as him.
wow,
Now his throwing just became as versatile as him. Like, he was able to start expressing his athleticism. He was able to start controlling the ball. It's like, aha,
yeah, wow,
right? I'm like, bruh, like, I don't think this industry has made a glove for these 6 to 10-year-olds, because they didn't need to. They're
yeah,
making 11.5 gloves, and everyone's buying them. They're making buku money. Who cares about these youth kids? They're going to be 12, 13 years old anyway.
right.
But I was like, oh my, I'm
That's
like, bro,
genius, man.
all I want these kids to do is get better. Like, I'm super passionate about moving these kids forward, and for them to see their hard work and achievement and continue to play this game, and understand, like, the work you put in is what you get out. But to have something like that they had no idea was affecting their ability, and
Yeah,
it was equipment error. I was like, yo, nah, we gotta fix this. And it took a while,
yeah,
man. It took a
yeah,
while. We got gloves that weren't a fit. I had to learn how to source a glove from China.
yeah,
I had to learn how to start a product business, which I'm still working on, but it's probably been like 2 years later. We just ordered 300 gloves. We're kind of, it's really, that's like my spirit animal. Dig it, dig it,
I
dig it
love
is
that.
like the philosophical, the DNA, the
Yeah,
grinder. And right now the vehicle is a glove, and I'm super proud of it. I'll put it up versus anyone,
yeah,
and I'll stand tall with it. And we're selling gloves to 6 to 10-year-old youth
I
infielders.
love that.
That's a small wrist, a smaller palm, a lighter glove. It's still high quality. It's not plastic. It's able to last a season or two, and it's really cool that these young kids who I look at as like a young Drew are championing it and embracing
Yeah.
this, and then they're
Yeah.
like Diggett's becoming the little spirit animal of San Diego, and I couldn't be more grateful for the community I'm in. And I think this as a business person, it's cool because like I said, like I don't care if we just reach San Diego and the people I work with, but this is an issue across the industry, and I'm like, A, I'm passionate. I know I'm solving a problem. And B, as a business person, there's scalability to it. And I'm
For
super excited to
sure.
explore that and learn that. I got so much to learn. I got so much to figure out, but like I'm gonna work towards doing all that stuff and see where this thing goes, because that's why not.
You know what? In the amount you probably learned from figuring out how to create a product is irreplaceable. But as a me, like a business nerd, what I love the most is I always preach and I practice in my little chapter where I am now of business ownership and entrepreneurship is just kind of wrapping around a person as much as you can, a product, a service, and that's what I love about you creating this is you have the fast development, and then now you have something else on top of it that you can also push as a business. And I truly believe in it. One, because the problem's there,
Right.
nothing, even just like a baseball guy, nothing frustrates me more than just watching like floppy gloves, and I never
Could
even
you
thought to
imagine
solve the
that? Like,
problem. Like it's crazy, and I
like
love the way they look, dude. Like I love the design behind them. I think kids would eat that up. I know I would. I was the one with the silver glove on the mound. Like so I love the way that they look. So I commend you for that. And I'm definitely gonna put a link to that in the description of this because that just shows to the kind of business person and entrepreneur you are, and you're not. And I think the whole theme of this is you just take a shot at it and you go and take a shot. And what's the worst that could happen? Doesn't work,
yeah,
you know?
I'm terrified every time I wear gloves. I'm like, oh my goodness. But like,
Yeah.
I guess it's just I'd rather invest in myself than ever be like, I should have done that. And I
Yeah.
want to know, like, I'm gonna invest in myself, bet on myself, and I'm gonna fail, but at least I'm gonna learn. Like,
I
failure is
love
the
that.
best, and that's how we grow.
Don't lose any lessons and losses, man. There's so many lessons in any loss you take. Some are hard and need to be learned, but there's ones there. I've had you for longer than you agreed with, but I have to ask you this. Someone who um sees their playing days about to end, right? And they've had all the fun and they've worked and they've played and they're there, and now they're at a point where they're going to enter the real world, like we just talked about a little bit earlier. What would be your piece of advice to that college athlete who's getting close to that moment of what am I going to do now? I only identify as an athlete. I'm only a baseball player. I'm only a softball player. I don't know. What would be your message to them? A quick message to them that where you are now to those younger ones now.
Look, speaking back to them, I would just say everything you just said about, the identity, and I'd say embrace
Yeah,
it. That's
yeah,
real. Take that
yeah.
time, like reflect, know that you put in a lot of work, like, but the cool thing about I learned this from a book, man, like measure backwards, like everything you did from when you were zero to that point is why, like, is what gonna get you forward. Like,
Right.
you put in so much work to get where you were. You should be proud of that. You should take pride in all that work. Um, from that new chapter, from that new vantage point, looking forward, just make sure you're not looking down a tunnel. Make sure that your vision is incredibly wide, right? Don't shut down any opportunity, because you're absolute infant in this arena.
Mhm.
So I think you have to, A, take care, go travel, experience, go travel, go see new
Yeah.
places. I think you need to use relationships you've developed in college, whether it's coaches or professors. Go, you don't know it, you don't know
Yes.
crap yet, go ask them, like, this is I'm where I'm at, this is, what's your recommendations, what's your advice, do you have anywhere I can go work for free, do you have any
Yes.
place I can go work for free? And to your point earlier, like, I just made sure I was never the smartest person in the room, right?
Hmm.
Like, just go to a place that's going to develop you, that already has developed others, and
Right.
has allowed other working professionals in that industry succeed. Go there
Yeah.
and just be a sponge on the wall and learn. Say yes. say yes to opportunities because you might not know what your true passion is. I'd say make sure that like what you studied in college is actually what you want to do. Make sure you're not like just doing it to appease your parents. Make sure it's something that you truly want to do. Um, there's You're so young, you have so much time ahead of you. Cherish this moment of uncertainty and just put your head down and grind and say yes and make the most out of every opportunity that you have.
Write that down, stamp it up, man. That's it. I couldn't agree with you more. But Drew, I gotta thank you, man. I mean, I consider you one of my best friends for a long time, right? Like, we talk every once in a while, but we always check in on each other. But I hope a lesson that someone takes from this is even just talking to someone that we've had thousands of conversations. There's still always something new to learn, and I learned a lot about you today. And I appreciate you being transparent and just kind of giving the real side of it. A lot of people don't understand exactly what it's like to be an athlete. And I think it's a good look inside. I think the more information that's out there, the better decisions people can make. And that's the whole goal here. But for you to be transparent in what you're doing now, but I recommend everybody to go follow the Fast Development, dig it. I'm going to put it all in the bio. But Drew, man, thanks for your time. And I'm glad we finally got this one on the books. I mean, this is not going to be the last one. We're gonna like, we'll circle back, we'll run it back
We'll
again.
be back.
Yeah,
My
man.
man, Matty O, thank you so
Appreciate it.
much. Every time that we talk, it's always a pleasure. I always come on the other side more
Yes.
optimistic and good vibes. Love what you're doing with the Athlete CEO.
Thank you.
Keep being that voice and microphone for the former, Drew and Matt and the rest of us, and keep getting the word out there that like, no, this is, it's not baseball or softball anymore, but this game of life is incredibly amazing, and you have so much to give it, and continue to develop that journey.
Thank you. Yeah, man. I appreciate that. All right, we're signing out. Till the next one. Appreciate you.
All right, my man. Later, Matty.